Hello, I'm Mike Montague, and this is Who Moves You, the podcast about real estate and the real estate market in Ontario, with an added focus on regions north of the Greater Toronto Area. The numbers for January were released this week by the Canadian Real Estate Association. It's shaping up to be another action-packed year for local real estate, likely more so than it was in 2020 even. Barrie area homeowners in particular are paying attention. Many couldn't have imagined their home or their homes in their neighborhood would be selling for the premium prices that they are now receiving. Who is paying even closer attention to the real estate numbers at the moment is our government. While most other economic areas that contribute to our GDP are off because of the pandemic, real estate sales, home building, and home renovation numbers, they are all up over the past year. Home Depot and building center parking lots have been full every day in the past year. If you even had an opportunity to see a for sale sign on your street in the past year, within a few days to a week, there was most likely a sold rider added onto it. In the trunk of my car, you'll find a few boxes of feature sheets that never made it into homes that were listed and sold on the same day. Many realtors are feeling less like negotiators these days and more like auctioneers, fielding multiple offers, one after the other. Calmer markets, they will return, but until they do, there is great opportunity for those who have plans to sell a home in the coming weeks and months. Just 2 years ago, the federal government was busily creating obstacles to put between us and home ownership. Stress tests, crackdowns on home flippers, regulations and restrictions put on the short-term rental industry, vacancy taxes and international purchase taxes. None of these things slowed the market down. All it did was make life a little more difficult for Canadians, and in particular, those first-time buyers. In the year prior to the pandemic, real estate contributed less than 7% to our GDP. That rose to over 10% in 2020. The government is realizing that housing in the real estate market is going to be a lifesaver for a post-pandemic economy. The numbers are important to the rest of us too, as they are that roadmap that shows where we are, where we're coming from, and from that we can try to figure out where we may be going. In January 2021, activity through the Barrie District Association of Realtors saw 302 homes sold. That is up from 242 sales in January of 2020, which itself was a busy month compared with January activity levels in the few years previously in the Barrie area. There were 364 new listings in January 2021 for a net increase of inventory of just 62 listings. A year ago, we saw a net inventory increase in January of 285 active listings. The average list to sell price, that is what they asked versus what they got, was just over 105% in January of 2021, meaning homes sold for 105% over list. It is typically around 96 or 97%, and I only recall one time over the past 20 years where that number was over 100%, and that was for a very brief period in the spring of 2017, and that was when we had a burst of sales activity prompted by buyers trying to get in ahead of the new stress tests that the government was implementing later that summer. Of all real estate statistics, the one that is the best indicator of the type of market we are in and of where you stand both as a buyer and a seller in is the months of inventory indicator. This is a formula that takes the current average list to sell times and the number of active listings to determine how long it would take for all the current listings to sell in the market that we have. In January 2020, we had 3.1 months worth of inventory. In January 2021, that number was down to just 3 weeks worth of inventory. The lower that number is, the more demand there is for existing inventory, which translates to multiple offers on homes, shorter list and sell times, and of course, rising sale prices. As we move through February and March, the expectation is we should see inventory numbers increase as we traditionally do in the spring. At the same time, we traditionally see an increase of buyer activity as we move into warmer spring weather. So it remains to be seen if the months of inventory statistic will move much or in which direction it might move. The average price of all residential real estate sold in the Barrie area in January, or sold through the Barrie District Association of Realtors in January of 2021, was $759,372. with the average price on a single-family home sitting at $848,728, while the average townhouse sale price for January 2021 was $618,504. Increases of 28.7% and 34.4% respectively over January 2020. The average price increase from January 2016, 5 years ago, to January 2021 is 77.8% for a single-family home and 96.1% for a townhouse. Condominiums had an average sale price in January of 2021 of $467,428, and the list to sell price average was 100%. These numbers again reflect properties on the Barrie District Association of Realtors database. There were additional listings and sales by out-of-town agents that won't be reflected in the totals I've shared, although the averages would be similar. The question then is, where did we all go from here? Some economists and self-appointed news experts will have us believe that the market has to turn. It's a bubble. There is no room for activity or values to go any higher. In many regards, I wish they were right, but those same experts have been saying this every year since I started selling homes in the Barrie area 21 years ago. And every year, home prices go up. Every year, people manage to be resourceful enough to make their move from being a renter to an owner. We are greatly influenced by what happens in the GTA and what their housing values do. We remain a far more affordable option for housing when compared with the GTA, and Toronto specifically. As big city prices continue to climb even higher, more and more look outside the GTA to buy. That's just a fact. There is a growing desire to live in less densely populated towns and cities as well because of the pandemic. More and more people are now working from home. This is a trend that is likely to continue beyond the pandemic. And interest rates for mortgages remain at all-time lows and should remain low for the foreseeable future. All combined, it's a perfect storm for continuing higher than usual real estate activity in our region, and in all likelihood, values that will at least hold to where they are, but are more than likely going to continue to creep upwards. Investment potential is still strong for real estate in our region as a result, and owning remains the far more economically favorable preference over renting. All combined, these factors will keep demand above supply levels for some time to come. I believe higher housing costs will see more and more entering into shared ownership scenarios with friends and family. We may begin to see multi-generational living scenarios, and we will likely see more and more creating second suites within their homes to offset higher housing costs. The low interest rates are keeping monthly carrying costs down. The bigger challenge for most wanting to buy a home, their first home especially, are those upfront costs, down payments, legal, home inspection, moving costs, HST, land transfer taxes. Combined, these present a big hurdle to climb to make the entry into home ownership. Those of us who have reaped the rewards from our homes rising in value, and by numbers no previous generations have benefited from, need to remember that we have a duty to the next generation, and that is to pay some of it forward, some of that equity, in helping our own adult children and grandchildren, who are the ones being squeezed hardest by our housing market. We need to assess them to make the transition from renter to owner. After all, it is us, not them, who are responsible for the home prices being where they are today. 2021 is going to see a lot of continuing real estate market activity. It's never been more important to have a good realtor on your team, whether buying or selling. If 2021 is your year to sell or buy real estate, I'm never too busy to talk with you about your plans or to assist you with your next purchase or sale. Until next time, I'm Mike Montague. Who moves you?